I'm stuck in this barn, editing a video about hay, on my phone, and I can't leave until it's done. Let's back up. For me, video editing has been one of my chief creative voices in most of the work that I've done. At its basics, editing is about space and time. A longer clip takes up more space. A bigger monitor helps you see more of your clips. Which is why this is the setup I like to use when I edit my videos. Like the video you're watching right now. But what if I didn't have all this? Or even my laptop? What if I convinced the goat farmer next door to A, let me film a video in his barn about a building block of our larger food system that most people don't think about, and B, to lock me in that barn until I finished editing that video on my phone as a means of demonstrating the power and pitfalls of editing in the field? What would I do then? After pulling together a makeshift desk, I'd do what I always do when beginning an edit. We'll start by importing some footage. To retrieve the video shot with my drone and camera, I use a card reader made for the iPhone. I found this to be faster than the wireless alternatives. But it's not perfect.
This takes a while. I'm lost in the footage. I'm still importing footage.
Why did I shoot so much footage? Lots of goat chewing footage.
I'm going crazy. The importing footage stage of editing is a very early stage.
To move things along, I assemble a series of portable components, including a battery-powered monitor, foldable keyboard, and collapsible mouse, into what I call the field editor. A monitor like this is normally used with cameras to give you a better sense of what you're filming. With an HDMI adapter, I can connect it to my phone. Then I launch a mobile editing app called LumaFusion. It's simple but powerful, and, among other things, it lets me move the window I use to preview my footage off of my phone and onto the external monitor, freeing up valuable screen space for what's called the timeline. And even though it's primarily a touch-based program, I'm able to use keyboard shortcuts while editing.
My name is Christopher Hahn.
Next, I sort through my footage. I set the beginning and end of clips that I might need, and then drop them onto my timeline.
It's going to be a mixture of grasses, legumes.
When I've identified the quotes that help me tell the story, and the secondary shots that help me illustrate it, I begin scripting my narration. Then I set up my microphone, and attempt to read my own handwriting.
What does that even mean? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
The hay bales serve as an excellent sound booth. This is hay. Now, Christopher stores his hay right above where the goats live, so I open the video with shots of him throwing it down to them, arranging my clips so that the perspective cuts from the floor he's on to the floor below. This is hay. These are the goats who eat it. This is the man who feeds it to them. And this is the cheese they help him to make.
I'm ready when you are.
The only shot I have of hay actually in a field is from a dance piece I filmed over the summer. I used the cropping tool to isolate the hay bale, adjust its size with my fingers, and then increase the brightness of the image to make it more visible. I add motion by setting keyframes from where I want it to start moving and where I want it to end up. To further direct the viewer's eye, I use a mobile art app called Procreate Pocket, which allows me to pick a brush style and color and then draw directly on a still shot from my video. After some experimentation, I opt for a circle, holding my finger down to smooth out my lines and easily resize. Then, I set the background as green, start a screen recording, and begin moving my shape around. Returning to LumaFusion, I crop out what I don't need, and remove the background with the green screen key. Then I adjust speed to match the pace of the narration. Here's how this affects that. The night progresses. The temperature drops. Hungry, I sample the merchandise.
Sounds actually pretty good.
Little by little, the rest of the puzzle snaps into place. But it takes time, in part because I'm simultaneously trying to document the process.
You're recording? You're recording, but you're about to run out of battery? That stinks.
Eventually, all of my accessories run out of battery, leaving me to finish the job with just my phone and my thumbs.
Final audio pass.
Audio can have an outsized impact on how the audience experiences video. Much of video editing is managing that impact. In this case, I use one of LumaFusion's ready-made transitions to smoothly fade out the audio from my summer shots before introducing my winter footage.
I'm gonna hit export, because I'm done.
Morning has come. I've decided to call it quits. My gear is covered in hay. As for the piece, I'm proud of it, and I'll play it as is at the end of this episode.
I've hit this on a phone.
But it's far from perfect. Much like my method for getting it done. And yet, for journalists who are curious about video editing, I would still recommend mobile editing as a good entry point. It costs less, it's less complicated, and you can do it from anywhere. I have a good example of a place I would not recommend ever doing it again. And forcing myself to edit my footage on the spot meant it wasn't sitting for months haunting me on a hard drive. So I'm excited about field editing as a storyteller. Because for me at least, it can mean telling the story at all. Even if I have to spend a night in a barn to do so. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go clean the hay out of my fanny pack. This is hay. These are the goats who eat it. This is the man who feeds it to them. And this is the cheese they help them to make. Here's how this affects that. In the summer, it's easy to picture what it means for ruminant animals like cows or goats to be grass-fed. At a place like Three Level Farm in Maine, there's a lot of it. In the winter, that grass is hay.
For ruminants, it's the major food source. So there's a broadleaf.
Good hay requires good ingredients.
For my animals, it's going to be a mixture of grasses, legumes, wildflowers, some broadleaf shrubs. Figure that all those plants are accessing different aspects of what's in the soil nutrient-wise. Their roots are at different levels, they go down deeper or shallower, and all that in microdose gets into the plant, gets up to the leaves, gets consumed by the animal, and eventually by us. Hey, you. What are you talking about?
Good food, good milk, good cheese. And when it's time for the goats to eat, a manger helps keep at least some of the food off the ground.
Their table manners aren't very good.
Because for the goats, all hay is definitely not the same.
They're looking for that perfect flavor. They have very sensitive taste buds, tongues, and noses, so they're sniffing and tasting, and they'll pull it out, and if they like it, they're going to keep eating it, and if not, they're just going to let it drop.
If you like cheese, you should like hay.
Well, you should be happy for hay. I don't know if you should like it, but I don't find it very appetizing.